Dr. Palanivel Thiagarajan is the MLA for Madurai Central Constituency in the 15th and 16th Assemblies of Tamil Nadu, India. He is presently the Minister for Finance and Human Resources Management in the Tamil Nadu government. He is the founding secretary of the DMK IT wing and the founder of the Dravidian Professional Forum. He previously worked as the international investment banker at Lehman Brothers, New York, and Standard Chartered Bank, Singapore, where he last served as Senior Managing Director. Dr. Rajan represents the fourth generation of his family's engagement in the Dravidian movement and the third generation elected representative. His grandfather, Sir P.T. Rajan, was the Minister and Chief Minister of the Madras Presidency, and his father, PTR Palanivel Rajan, was the former Speaker of the Tamil Nadu Legislative Assembly and a former minister. He earned BTech Honours in Chemical Engineering from NIT Trichy, MS Operations Research, and PhD Engineering Psychology from the State University of New York, and an MBA Finance from the MIT Sloan School of Management.
Time to listen to our illustrious special guest of honor. The dais is all yours, sir.
Thank you. Thank you very much for inviting me. The Honorable Chief Minister, who guides us and gives us confidence every day, the President of the ICAI, CA Nehar Jambusaria, my old friend CA G. Ramsamy, CA K. Jalabudi, the Chairman of the SIRC, CA S. Prabhu, the Chairman of Coimbatore Branch, CA Palanisamy, the Vice Chairman, CA Nagakumar, the Secretary, distinguished guests, past presidents, past council members, current council members, current office bearers, and chartered accountants, all ladies and gentlemen, good morning, and thank you for this golden opportunity to speak here today, following the Honorable Chief Minister himself. The Chief Minister laid out in quite detail, quite high level of detail, the many ways in which we as a government are increasing our interactions with and reliance with chartered accountants generally. But I want to start at a slightly different place. I want to start on a personal note by saying that my association with the SIRC dates back through a past president, K. Ravi, CA K. Ravi, lawyer K. Ravi, who first asked for me to address the Vaidyanath Iyer Memorial Lecture back in 2013. Back then, I was a managing director at Standard Chartered. That started my association. After that, I've spoken at 2014 and 2015 SIRC regional conferences, annual conferences. I've spoken at sub-regional conferences, like in Coimbatore at your new hall. Last year, CA Jain asked me to speak at your virtual conference in November or December of 2020, which I did from Madurai. So I have the unique experience of addressing this SIRC first as a managing director in a bank, then as a voluntary retirement in anticipation of entering politics, then a few times as an MLA, and then now finally as the Minister for Finance and Human Resources. So I'm happy to have this long association with you throughout various stages of my career. As the Chief Minister has pointed out, we understand very much the importance of your profession. It is not just about audit. At some level, I have a profound view that accounts, statements, are essential to a shared understanding of complex organizations, whether they're companies, they're governments, anything where multiple people have interest, multiple stakeholders exist. And of course, to the extent that that is true, that a shared understanding is the basis for discussion, debate, progress, then the audit profession is extremely important because you are the ones that validate that shared understanding's foundations. You tell us what is true and what is not. In the government, we take this function very, very seriously. Now, I've spoken many times before, so I don't want to rehash old ground. But going specifically to the government of Tamil Nadu under the leadership of our Chief Minister, as he mentioned, we have set up, for example, in the BVAC specialist teams which will comprise auditors, and we will call on specialists as needed. We have also set up in the many initiatives in the finance department, either a focus on or with the support of auditors. Let me mention a couple. I have announced during the budget that we will create independence of internal audit by removing all audit functions from respective departments and bringing them under a newly created Director General of Audit under the Finance Ministry. And that over time, we will homogenize the audit functions rather than have, as we do now, separate local fund audit, separate dairy audit, separate cooperative audit, etc. So, the value of independence and the fact that auditors are by necessity required to be independent by arm's length and not involved in the day-to-day functions to truly have a unbiased view. We want to implement that in the government, which to my dismay does not exist today. Also, in initiatives that I've announced in terms of either finding lapsed funds, unused funds, or other litigation and asset management and risk management of the government, we have involved many chartered accountants in those and will continue to do so. In essence, I would actually take another kind of zoom out and say, if you look at the design of democracy itself, at least in our constitution, we have the importance of audit at multiple stages in our system. One, internal audit of the governments, sometimes done well, sometimes done badly, but in our case, we're going to greatly simplify and improve it and make it independent. Two, at the CAG's office or the respective state PAGs and so forth, who not only give us the actual accounts, we have an accountant general and then we have auditor generals for different sectors. And most importantly, it is one of the areas where we involve the legislature as well, because as you know, once the AG's report is out, that report can only be resolved, can only be kind of processed and the issues put to bed by the legislature, first through the Public Accounts Committee, a subcommittee of the legislature, and then through their recommendation to the entire legislature, and only then can an audit objection or an audit issue be put to bed. So the role of auditors is inherently very important in the design of our constitution, of our democracy. And we, as the DMK government, under the leadership of our chief minister, not only understand that, not only plan to apply the skills to the right place, but want to enhance significantly our engagement with auditors. Now, the profession itself, of course, at different times has faced different issues. Just in my experience over the last 20, 30 years, first as a kind of structured products banker in New York, and then a commercial banker in the emerging markets, some issues have stayed long-standing. The separation of advisory services from the audit function to maintain independence and not bring conflict of interest, to maintain a level playing field between the big three, big four, big five as they used to be, and the regional players, the national players, and in fact, the independent businesses and the individual firms who, also provide very high value, and to make sure that all segments of your profession can thrive and do their job. The question of long duration engagements and whether that compromises independence or creates kind of nexus. The cross-border, as we have more and more global trade and global transactions, the variations in accounting practices and audit practices cross-border and dealing with the complexities of that. I might mention at this juncture that when I was an expatriate, there was a specialist arm of PwC that used to do all the expatriate tax filings I think it was based in Tokyo for various reasons. And it was both an extremely expensive and an extremely arduous process where we had to keep track of every day of 365 days, where we were, for what purpose, and so forth. Because, taxes had to be filed in my case, in the US, in India, and in Singapore at the same time. So then the complexities of cross-regime variations come in, and I've experienced that personally. Beyond that, as there is financial engineering and innovation in financial products, the complexities of the profession itself, and if we introduce new things like GST in India, the complexities that arise from that or if there are fundamental changes to the tax code. So in that sense, like other professions, or maybe more than most professions, your profession is one that requires continuous refreshing rejuvenation. You as a body have a relatively unique role that you are a self-regulating entity. So you have both a kind of professional development and what can I say, growth role, as well as a self-regulating role. This is a complexity, but you have done a good job of it, and that's going to be a continuing challenge. Of course, through that process, you also run the education, the training, and the qualifying exams, and those again are quite encompassing, including internships and so forth. You also look at things like continuing education, as the Honorable Chief Minister said. One of the greatest values of a conference like this is to provide the continuing education and to in an informal way between yourselves to kind of come up to speed with the developments over the years. I will just close by saying that the points the Chief Minister made, that you must engage yourself more actively in the development of both accounting standards and tax rules and laws, but also about policy altogether. I think that having such an organization which represents the entire profession, of course, you have a seat at the table. I know in many committees in New Delhi at the union government, we will try to match that in the state government and take official inputs from the society, from the council. And, I think you must be proactive in bringing issues that you see that maybe we don't see in the government. And we're always happy to work with you to resolve issues and improve the outcomes for society, for economic growth, for employment, and so forth. So with that, let me thank you again for this opportunity. I'm very happy to extend my relationship with the ICAI, in particular the SIRC, and in fact the Coimbatore chapter through the many phases of my life. I wish this conference a lot of success, and I wish your council, the best when considering the many hats you have to wear and the many functions you perform. Thank you again, and all the best.
Thank you so much, sir. Thank you for the power-packed address.